Hello my bunny besties. If you're new here, my name is Bunby. Welcome, welcome. And if you are returning, hi, how are you? It is so nice to see you again. In my mind, spring has sprung. You have heard it here first. I have decided that the birds are singing, the cherry blossoms are blooming. It is time to open the windows and let in the fresh, warm breeze, and of course, dive into a new Animal Crossing island here on the channel. While many of us are still stuck dealing with the cold and the snow, not me of course, because if you're new here, I live in Florida, I am still deciding to manifest brighter skies and warmer days because as you can see in the title, we are going to be creating my first ever spring island in Animal Crossing New Horizons in the year 2025. Like, what the heck? If you follow my Instagram page or if you know me and my personal aesthetic, you might be surprised that I've never worked on a spring island before, considering everything I touch in real life turns pink, but I have only ever created autumn and winter islands. So this year we are going to change that and dive into our first ever spring island. If this is the first planning video of mine that you're seeing, the way that this works is that in today's video, I will not only be narrowing down our villager lineup from a wide range of absolute cuties and brainstorming some build ideas, but I will also be creating a very adorable aesthetic mood board to try and capture the feeling of our theme, and I will of course be sharing the very on-brand name, if I do say so myself, that is going to fit perfectly with this super fun island. I cannot express how overly excited I am for our new island theme. It is unlike anything we have ever done before, but enough rambling from me. I know that you are ready for the big reveal, so let's go ahead and switch on over to Canva. Here we are in Canva, and for anyone who doesn't know, this is my go-to software for, well, literally like everything. Planning documents like this, all of the thumbnails for my channel, any photo editing that I do, you name it, and Canva can do it. So if you want to plan along with me or use this as kind of like a guide for how I plan my islands, if you're looking to do something similar for yourself, then I highly recommend trying it out. This is not sponsored in any way, shape, or form, but I will preface that I do own a premium version, so I get access to some features that are not available in the free version, but do know that there's still a ton that you can do. So even if you can't do the exact same things, you can still achieve a very similar result. You just got to be a little bit creative with it. So for this island, as you can see, we have a lot of stuff going on here. We have pinks and blues, and we have cute characters, and we have orange and white, and we have all this stuff going on. We have pretty much every cute thing that you could possibly think of thrown together. My goal with this island is to try a completely different design style from what I usually do, but one that still feels very true to me and the way that I like to tell stories through my islands and here on the channel. So without further ado, allow me to formally welcome you to, drumroll please, Tamagotchi. This is going to be a Tamagotchi inspired Animal Crossing island because I feel like the aesthetic of the Tama universe is very similar to Animal Crossing. I think it's something that can translate really well, and I don't know, I really wanted to push myself and see if I could achieve a crossover that still captures the feelings of both franchises and stays true to them. And lately I have been on a serious nostalgia kick, and this island is going to be very heavily inspired by my own childhood nostalgia and probably the nostalgia of a lot of people watching this video. I feel like we're all probably roughly the same age, so you know, honing in on the feelings and the vibes in the 90s and the early 2000s, especially in terms of like gaming and fashion and culture and aesthetics and all these things that were going on at the time. I mean, we had all these incredible nostalgic gaming consoles. We had the GameCube, we had PSPs, we had DS's, we had the Game Boy Advance, and then of course like just feeling like we had more like third spaces, like going to the mall and doing stuff like that, and even like focusing in on things like Japanese subcultures. You can see I have a lot of different things here on the screen, and of course, as you can see, just throwing in some different franchises on the screen along with Tamagotchi. You can see that I have Hamtaro here on screen as well as Sanrio, and I feel like throwing in splashes of Sanrio inspiration is gonna really tie things together because we have so many incredible Sanrio items in game. I feel like it's gonna be really hard to do this island and not have some Sanrio inspiration, so I have to throw that in here too. I really want to try and lean heavily into some of the more obscure Sanrio characters. So as you can see here, we have Kogimyan, who is my personal favorite Sanrio character. She is so cute. For anyone who doesn't know, she is a flower sprite, and not flower like plant, but flower like like wheat flour. She's a little flower sprite and I love her so much. I think that she is so cute and I can't wait for her to gain some more popularity here in the States because it is impossible to come by any merch for her. But I also have Usahana here on screen, and I don't know, I feel like there are so many cute Sanrio characters that I feel like are gonna encompass this island very well. And as I mentioned, I also have Hamtaro here on screen, which for anyone who doesn't know, Hamtaro is an anime and gaming franchise from the early 2000s and was one of my favorite shows growing up. It was on so rare that you can bet I was sat in front of the TV, my eyes glued to the screen whenever it was on. And I actually also played a game for the DS when I was a kid that I thought was a Hamtaro game. I even named all of my hamsters in the game after my favorite Hamtaro characters, but it turns out I was just playing a shovelware game called Hamster's Life with a Z, of course, because it was 2006. But I really just want to bring back, you know, those little nostalgic flares to Animal Crossing, and I've been thinking a lot about all of the forgotten games and franchises from my childhood that I really loved, and I think it would be super fun to bring some deep dives here to the channel in the future. Do let me know if you'd be interested for videos like that where we can go and explore these kind of nostalgic topics. But it is also really important for me to point out the fashion aspects of the inspiration here on the screen. You can see that I've singled out Decora K J fashion as a pretty heavy inspiration niche for the island. Now, I'm not a huge fashion expert and I don't imagine that fashion is going to be a huge point of decoration on the island, but I do think it's important to mention it because I feel like the vibes of those fashion themes are what I'm trying to bring to the island. But I'm not a huge fashion expert, especially when it comes to fashion subcultures, so I'm not going to go into the history or the detail of necessarily what dictates Decora K because I feel like there's a lot of subjectivity when it comes to fashion. But overall, the gist is that it's extreme maximalism with a heavy emphasis on pastels, charms, accessories, and anything cutesy that is layered throughout your outfit. I personally just feel like Decora K was really a leading fashion subculture back in the early 2000s, along with things like gyaru and other Japanese countercultures. So to help capture like an urban nostalgic island based around Tamagotchi, I feel like a very cutesy, charm-heavy, maximalist vibe is absolutely going to fit, and it's more about the feeling that that fashion evokes versus the fashion itself. I also just have really nostalgic memories of first discovering Japanese fashion way back in middle school in my Tumblr days. Shout out to Tumblr. I was absolutely obsessed, but I could never live out my dreams of becoming a Decora K girly because my mom was like, what the heck is this? Why is there so much stuff on this girl's hair? And I was like, you don't get it, mom. You don't get the vibes. So I feel like this island is kind of like a guilty pleasure for me because I feel like I'm going to be able to kind of live out a lot of these dreams that I had for myself as a kid and a lot of these things that I enjoyed as a kid that maybe as I got older I thought was a little bit embarrassing or I don't know, like too childish or something. So I'm just really trying to bring all of that back. But I've also name dropped Japan a lot, and I just want to mention that this is more of an inspiration than an actual representation of Japanese culture and aesthetics. While I have Harajuku as a point of inspiration here on screen, it's more of a touchstone for a real world example of what I'm trying to achieve with this island, as I try to do with all of my islands. Tamagotchi is going to be a pastel city core island with touches of zen core, but will lean more heavily into the realm of like pastel kid core, city core vibes. But with all of those vibes established, let's go ahead and move down to the villager lineup, which is going to come with a couple of strings attached. So as you can see, we have a ton of villagers here on screen, but it's going to be really quick to narrow them down because my goal with the villagers is to only pick ones that closely resemble actual Tamagotchi tamas, or at least encapsulate their personalities. So to narrow things down and to save us some time, I've gone through and created a page that features all of my favorite Tamagotchis to give us a guideline to work with. So here are all of my tamas, as you can see on screen. I have so many and they're all so cute. It was like walking down memory lane, going through the Tamagotchi Wikipedia page and just scrolling through all the tamas and being like, oh my goodness, I remember having this one back in the day, or this one is so cute. I wish I would have gotten a chance to get this one, but as you can see, I have kind of separated them a little bit. We have some female tamas and some male tamas. Not that that really matters. I just want to try and like connect them with villagers that share the overall, like as similar as possible. Like if we could take these tamas and put them into Animal Crossing, my goal is to try and pick villagers that resemble them as much as possible. So just to pick out a couple of my absolute favorites, Lovely Chi is such a good example of like just me as a person. As you know, I'm Bunby here on the internet, and so to have a cutesy little bunny themed Tama, like she is just such a cutie. But I also really remember loving Ichigachi when I was growing up. I played a game called Tamagotchi Corner Shop on my DS as a kid, and Ichigachi would always come into my shops, and she was so cute. I loved her so much. She's this little cute little strawberry, so she is an absolute favorite. I also feel like I have to mention Mimichi, who also in Tamagotchi Corner Shop 2, she was one of the 3 little Tamas that you could play as, and alongside her there's Kuchipachi, who I think is my absolute favorite if I had to decide. Kuchipachi is actually the contact photo for Papa Bun, my boyfriend, in my phone. He is Kuchipachi in my phone because Kuchipachi is just so cute. I love him so much. But there are so many that I could talk about here on screen. I'm hoping that I'm like bringing up some old memories for you if you were a Tamagotchi kid back in the day too. But I tried to just pick the ones that I thought were the cutest, or the ones that would be the easiest to try to translate to Animal Crossing, and to try and kind of help keep this video a little bit on the shorter side. I feel like all of my rambling is still going to make this video pretty long. I went ahead and decided to narrow some of the villagers down based off of who I thought they more closely resembled. This was just based off of vibes alone, villagers that looked similar to certain characters, and I'm gonna go through and narrow it down based off of this page specifically. No matter what, I love all of these villagers here on screen, so I think narrowing it down to what the vibe is actually supposed to encompass, and then just figuring out which villagers I find first in Animal Crossing, that's gonna be the big one. So these are the villagers that we have, just to run through them really quickly. We have Rosie, who is going to represent Moririchi. We have Vladimir, who is going to represent Togechi, which you might look at that and go, you know, the color scheme is different, but I was going, it was first of all a lot harder to go through and find villagers that encapsulated the male Tamas, because there's only so many male villagers that are cutesy and have this color scheme, but also all of them are blue. Like, why are so many of the male villagers blue? Like, Nintendo, can we get some more pink villagers, please? Just in general, like, I need more. I definitely need more. But yeah, going through and like trying to get them to match was definitely very difficult, but I did find a couple that I really liked, and I just really feel like Vladimir encompasses Togechi. So I also love Vladimir. He's a villager that I had back in, I believe, Wild World, and I didn't like him at first because I thought he was scary, but then we became best friends, and I really want to have him on an island, so he might be one that has to stay. But next to him, we have Filbert, who is going to represent Cosmachi. I think this one is really cute. I also love a Filbert. And then next to him, we have Dom, who I'm actually not that big a fan of. Dom is cute. It just always looks like he's about to cry, and it makes me sad, and I just feel like Dom deserves to look happier than that. He's going to represent Moko Sonochi. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. That one is a little bit of a mouthful. He also doesn't entirely match the color scheme, but I mean, I feel like the vibes are there. I mean, they look similar enough. It's just blue versus pink. But we also have Meringue, who I think is just an absolute cutie. I think we need more food-themed villagers in Animal Crossing. Nintendo, please, if you can hear me, put more cute food-themed villagers in the game. But I believe Meringue is a great representation for Patichi. I love the whipped cream that Patichi has, and she also has some like little berries around her hair, which I feel like just matches perfectly with Meringue having the strawberry on her nose and having kind of like this like whipped cream little look to her mane. But next to Meringue, we have Mary. Now, Mary is actually so underappreciated in the cutesy genre of Animal Crossing. She is one of my favorite villagers, and actually is my campsite representative on Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, which I have been getting into a lot more recently now that that has been released as a full game. I want Mary on an island so bad, and I thought she represented Chamakochi really well. I think their color schemes really match up perfectly. And then of course we have Judy, who's going to represent Gira Girachi. I think that they're really cute. They kind of both have this like little like smug sparkly eye smile thing going on, and with Judy's multicolor situation going on with her coat, I feel like it matches perfectly with the balloons question mark on Gira Girachi's head. I don't know what those are. But moving down, we also have Pietro. Now, I'm not a huge clown fan. Pietro has not always been my favorite. I just feel like there's a lot going on there. It's really hard to include him in an island because I like to work based off of color theory, and he is all of the colors. So I'm not a Pietro hater. I just can never find the right time to use him, but I feel like this is an island that like could work for him. Funnily enough, he would represent Pirochi, which, hey, kind of the same name, so it works. But then next to Pietro, we have Puddles, who will be representing Cupichi, which I think is super cute. Now, of course, it's not entirely accurate because Cupichi's hood is red and Puddles' face is more of a darker pink, but I still think it would be a cute little representation for her. We also have Sherb. I've also never had him on an island either, so I feel like that needs to change. And he will be representing Omochuchi, which is the cutest little Tama. He's just a little guy. Like, you can't tell me that's not just a little guy, you know what I mean? Next to him, Murphy, who will be representing Kuchipachi, my personal favorite, and I also love Murphy. He is also very underrated in the community, I feel like. Next to him, we have Scoot, who is so cute. It is actually crazy how cute this villager is, and he'll be representing Hatugachi, who I feel like matches him pretty well. The coloring is a little bit desaturated in comparison to Scoot, but they both have the little cheek blushies. The lips on Hatugachi kind of remind me of the duck lips that Scoot has. I think that's really, really cute. Next to him, of course, we have Octavian, who is going to be representing Hinotamachi, and I don't know, I've never had Octavian on an island. I usually don't gravitate towards him because he is just so red, like, goodness gracious. I don't know, I might keep him in my pocket for later. I'm not sure if we'll bring him on the island or not. I just think he's a good representation for Hinotamachi. Then moving on to the final row, we have Joey, who will be representing Hashipukachi. This villager is so cute. Joey is one of my absolute favorites. I love the duck villagers. I think they all look just a little bit silly, and I love it so much. Joey, once again, is one of those villagers that's a little bit more primary colored than I think I would like. I kind of want to go more pastel dreamlike with this island. He could still definitely work. I think he's a classic pick for a kid core island. Next to him, we have Marina. She is just such a favorite of everybody. She is so cute. She is probably one of the cutest villagers of all time. I think I actually had her in my first ever GameCube Animal Crossing game, and her house was near the beach, and I was like, this is so perfect. I love her so much. And she will be representing Dekorachi. Once again, I think it's a perfect little representation. The head shape for Dekorachi is very similar to Marina's. Now, next to her, we have Chelsea, who is our first Sanrio character on this lineup. Chelsea would be representing Neliachi, but I do have a second possible option for Neliachi. Originally, which this might be an unpopular opinion, I was actually thinking about having Celia be representing Neliachi. And I don't know, I really love Celia. I feel like she shows up on those villager hunts very, very often in the early rounds when you're finding your first rounds of villagers on Nook Miles Islands, and she's just so pretty. I know the eagle villagers are not everyone's favorite, but I don't know, something about her. She's very beautiful. But next to Chelsea, we have Blue Bear. Once again, she is a fan favorite, and she'll be representing Pico Picochi. Now, the color schemes are very different, but I think Pico Picochi kind of looks like a little teddy bear, and Blue Bear is just, she's so cutesy. Maybe if we can find a way to kind of meld some of these colors together, we can bring Blue Bear onto the island. But moving on to the last two villagers, we have Etoile, who would be representing Unimaruchi. Now, this is specifically, I believe, Little Unimaruchi. It's a variant of the original Unimaruchi, and Etoile is just so cute. I think this variation is actually based off of a Sanrio Tamagotchi collab, and this is supposed to be a Kiki and Lala version of Unimaruchi, which is perfect because Etoile is supposed to represent Kiki and Lala. And then last but not least, we have Chrissy. She is so classic, and she will be representing Lovely Chi. Once again, the color schemes are not quite the same, but I think the vibes are just absolutely unmatched. I really, really like all of these villagers. It's going to be so hard to narrow them down, so we are going to try and do that right now. This is going to be sped up because I'm so indecisive. It's probably going to take me the next 30 minutes. So without further ado, let's figure out who is moving on to Tamagotchi. Okay, so this is the official dreamy lineup for Tamagotchi. I love all 10 of these villagers so much. Some of them I haven't had in years, and then some of them I've never gotten the chance to have whatsoever. So I'm very excited for this lineup that we have. I feel like it's a really good mesh between some more pastel villagers like Judy and Sherb, and mixing them well with villagers that are a bit more saturated like Rosie and Vladimir. I feel like they have a bit deeper hue to them compared to some of the other villagers on the list. So I feel like it kind of brings this almost like bubblegum pop kind of vibe to Tamagotchi, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Now, of course, if we come across some villagers while we are villager hunting in the future, these might change because there are just way too many cuties to really be able to truly narrow things down. But I love this lineup so much. Let me know your thoughts down below on these picks. Let me know who you like the most, who you would trade out, what villager lineup you would try to create for an island like this. But with this lineup officially decided, it is time to move on to the build inspiration that we have for the island. Now, once again, as I keep saying, this is a Tamagotchi themed island, so I tried to go through and actually base it off of Tamatown, which is where all the Tamagotchis live, and base it specifically off of Tamatown from the Tamagotchi Corner Shop series, which, as I mentioned earlier in this video, was a DS game that I used to play when I was a kid. It basically follows whichever Tama you choose. You have 3 options between Mamechi, Mimichi, and Kuchipachi as the Tamas that you play as or that you are taking care of, and each one has a corresponding group of shops that they get to run depending on which one you choose, and as you progress you can open up more shops. So if you chose Mamechi, you would get Mame City, where you have a dentist shop, a dry cleaners, and a karaoke bar. And then if you choose to have Mimichi, then you will have Guru Guru Town, which has the beauty salon, the cake bakery, which was my personal favorite, and the flower shop. And then last but not least, if you choose Kuchipachi, you will get Pachi Forest, and then you will have a jewelry store, a takoyaki shop, which always confused me as a kid because I had no idea what takoyaki was, and I was like, what am I even supposed to be doing in this mini game? And you would also have the hot onsen spa that you could run as well. So I would like to try and maybe bring some of those to the island if possible. There's only so much space, so this is more so just a pool of ideas for us to kind of pick and choose from if we ever run into some roadblocks as we are putting the island together. I also like to just throw as many options as I can up on screen here for you guys, so that way when you're watching these types of videos you can see some things that you might not have thought of could be a build idea for you to do. Some of these would be villager interiors, like the dentist shop I feel like would be an interior for one of the villagers. Meanwhile, the highway clearly would be something that we would be building out on the island as a pretty large structure. So these are all just ideas. We have the ice cream parlor, we have a subway entrance, which is how I would like to have the entrance of the island built out. I have some really cool ideas that I'm hoping I can pull off, but also a bike rental area, a talent show, which was actually inspired by Kaylee Games, one of my besties and a fellow Animal Crossing YouTuber. You know her, you love her. She recently, on her Halloween 30-day island challenge that she did, she created a concert venue, which I thought could be really fun to use as a basis for a talent show build. Now, I'm not sure how I'm gonna be able to put this together. It seemed like a pretty big build, so Kaylee, let me know, DM me, Pookie, how big is that build? Because it looked humongous, but I thought it could be really fun to interpret it for a more pastel kid core style. If you haven't checked out her Halloween island, I highly recommend going and checking it out. I'll leave a link to it in the description box down below. But we also have a dog park, a possible toy shop, a video game store, of course, a gas station, which I've never done before, and I would love to build a gas station. It sounds like it would be so fun. Doing a pastel carnival, you know me, every single island I've created has had a carnival on it of some kind, so I feel like this could be really fun. A konbini, which is basically just the Japanese word for a convenience store, but I feel like convenience stores in Japan are completely different from convenience stores here in the US, where you got, you got the glizzy rollers, and meanwhile you go to Japan and you go into a konbini and it's like, it's so much nicer. Not that I've ever been to one, but I love getting those ASMR videos on my For You page of people going into konbinis or going into Korean convenience stores and like grabbing like the ice out of the little ice container and like making those little cups with all their like packages. It looks so nice, and so I would like to kind of maybe try and do something like that. I think it would also be fun to include a boba shop. I love boba and bubble tea so much, and I think it would be adorable to have one on the island, as well as a hotel slash motel. I almost wanted to do a love hotel, but for anyone who doesn't know, it is a place in Japan where you go to do certain activities, and so I was like, maybe that's not the most family friendly thing to do for Animal Crossing, but it's more so the vibes of love hotels. They look very cute for what they're actually used for. So, you know, we'll put a little question mark on that one. A playground as well, because it is a kid core island, and I would love to do a more pastel kind of playground. And the highway build. So I have seen so many people do these terraformed highways that have lookouts onto a city below, and I really like the idea of having like this overpass above, you know, an actual highway down below. And I also had to include a dress shop. I feel like, you know, with us having such a heavy emphasis from Decorake fashion and Japanese subcultures that are very heavily centered around fashion, we should have some clothing stores here on the island. And last but certainly not least is a peach orchard. No matter what our fruit ends up being, I would like to have an orchard that has peaches in it, because I feel like that would be very cutesy. So maybe we can try and allot a little area for that, especially if we need some filler, because I feel like that could be a fairly large build. But that is everything for all of the build ideas that I have for Tamagotchi. So last but certainly not least, we will be moving on to the actual mood board, my personal favorite part of these types of videos. If you watched the Oak Hollow planning video, which I would highly recommend you go and watch if you haven't seen it already, it's so satisfying to put these mood boards together. So officially, I'm going to ask that you sit back, you relax, you get cozy, and I'm going to speed create a little mood board for you to really capture the feeling of Tamagotchi. Alrighty, my bunny besties, our mood board is finished, our villagers are lined up, our plans are planned, so all of that means that our new island is officially ready for us to start working on. I love creating these planning videos so much, and I hope that they can help bring you some inspiration for your own islands if you're struggling on figuring out what to do or where to go next. So do let me know in the comments down below what sort of islands you're working on this year, or what you think of my choices for Tamagotchi. Do you like the villagers? Are you excited for our nostalgic pastel urban kidcore island? Were Tamagotchis even something that you played with or enjoyed taking care of as a kid? So many questions, so feel free to answer them all down below. If you had fun with today's video, consider subscribing if you were not yet subscribed, as I would love to have you join our cozy community, as well as leave a like and hit the notification bell so that you can get notified of all of our upcoming Tamagotchi builds. For anyone looking for a little extra bun bee in between uploads, we will also be setting up the island together over on Twitch, so head on over to twitch.tv/cozybunbee if you want to join for some villager hunting and island setup. But thank you all so much for watching until the end, and I will see you in the next video. Bye friends!